Hello, welcome to another Retro Core. In today's show we're going to take a look at the vertical shooter. I do love my vertical shooters. I may not be the best person to play them, but I do like them, and that's what matters. So with that in mind, we're not going to take a look at any cave games, because I know if I cover anything by cave, I'm just going to get bombarded with comments saying you don't know how the score system works, blah blah blah. Well, to be honest, I don't care about that, I just want to enjoy the game. So we're going to take a look at some of the other better shoot 'em ups, and maybe one or two stinkers that came out in the arcades back in the 90s, and maybe even the 2000s. So for starters, let's kick off with a classic game from Rising. Great Maho Daisakusen was released in the West under the less cool name of D-Maho. They should have just kept the Japanese name, which translates to the Great Magical Battle, or the Great Magic Armageddon, depending on how serious you want to be. You could say that this is Eighting or Rising's unofficial sequel to Kingdom Grand Prix, as the game shares an awful lot in common. This game is set in a futuristic environment with dragons, little turtles with lasers, and little green goblins with red eyes no less. The player picks one of 4 friends to travel with. The 2 characters fly through the levels of the game, shooting down everything in sight and collecting items. Each item has a point value which are used to fill up a chart at the end of each stage. The items on offer include food, swords, armor, boots, and so on. Great Maho Daisakusen's excellent graphics can be put down to the game running on Capcom's CPS2 board. That extra grunt really makes this game shine over many other vertical shooters that were released in 2000. Airgrallet comes from Grazale, a very small company that only made a few games before fading into obscurity. Airgrallet seems like a gritty, typical money-munching shooter at first glance. But once you actually sit down and play, it becomes very clear that Airgrallet is a light-hearted game with a sense of humour immediately starting during the attract mode. Airgrallet blows your socks off, a voice shouts out. During the game, your squadron back at the base talk amongst themselves over the radio, sometimes with some comedic elements. They also give you hints and commentary, which adds a lot to the game. There are 6 levels in Airgrallet. Most of it is standard shooter scenery, cityscapes, castles, and so on. One of the most interesting is the 5th stage. It's a really strange level that certainly showcases how Airgallet's level starts to go somewhere. It starts out over some scenic cliffs near a forest with mountains. After that, you swoop below over a small village and attack a huge mansion. At the very end, you fight a giant robot in a duck pond. Crazy stuff.
Power up!
Air Gallus is a fairly impressive game, if not an obscure gem. It would have been nice to see what games Gazella could have made if they had not faded into obscurity. Kaneko is not a developer typically known for their shooters. Before going out of business, Kaneko developed this amazing shooter, Cyvern, an overlooked gem about cyborg dragons flying through a futuristic sky and raining down hell on anything that stood in the way. Pretty good stuff actually. Cyvern's storyline involves biologically engineered dragons, created as the ultimate military weapon. To add extra power, the dragons are enhanced with robotic wings and cannons on their backs. Why not? This is mostly an excuse to blow things up using cyborg dragons, to be honest. And what a good reason that is. There are 3 types of dragons to play as. Each dragon has a special cannon and sub-cannons on its back. For additional firepower, dragons are equipped with screen clearing bombs and special attacks. Many of the enemy designs in this game are just as impressive as the main dragons. From giant insects to robot eagles to explosive sperm. Yeah, that's right, explosive sperm. Cyvern can be a very weird and dark sci-fi looking game for sure, but mostly weird. To bring things back down to earth, however, there are a few standard tanks and jets to blow up as well, but it's not like we really care for them. There are 5 levels in Cyvern. All of them have a good mix of fast Raiden style bullets and slow bullets more suited for the maniac shooter. If you do manage to complete Cyvern, a second loop awaits. In this second loop, bosses are nastier and some enemies explode on you. Oh, and there's no more slow bullets. A blaster, for those who didn't know, is basically a crossbow man. Well, according to the dictionary it is. It's also a very poor arcade game released by Sata, although why they released it is a mystery. Originally developed by Jordan, a company with a track record for developing crappy games, this 1989 shooter is typical of what to expect from Jordan. For a start, it looks very plain and, well, as if no imagination went into it at all. The level design just sucks big time. It kinda has a feeling of being unfinished, to be honest. Not only does it look subpar, but it also sounds pretty bad. But that's not the worst part. The computer AI is laughably poor. Taking out some of the bosses is 100% possible with your eyes closed, because they don't attack you. Just goes to show that not everything released in the arcades is quality. So some quality games in the first part of the show there, and of course one complete stinker, Blaster, yeah. Now you may be wondering, why the hell was this released in the arcade? And to be honest, I asked the same question myself. It was developed by Jordan, and Jordan are not exactly known for high quality gaming. In fact, they were responsible for some really bad games on the Super Famicom or the SNES, one such game being Zardian. Oh man, that is a stinker. Well, it just goes to show that no matter what hardware they use, Even if it's in the arcade, they make complete stinkers of games. But enough about them, let's take a look at some more quality games coming right up now. Battle Backrade is the fantastic sequel to the equally amazing Battle Garaga, also by 18. As with Battle Garaga, Battle Backrade also has a few different play modes. First off, we have the training mode. There are less enemies and bullets on screen, and the player fighter automatically uses a bomb when being hit. The game ends after 4 stages. Then you have the normal mode, a course of medium difficulty with 6 stages. Following that we have the advanced mode, a course with 8 stages with increased enemy firing rate and bullet density. And then for the hardcore we have the special. When this mode is selected, the player plays a course consisting of all boss segments in one stage. Basically a boss run mode. Like in pretty much all cave games, and well, most shooters these days, Battle Backrade features a medal system. Some enemies drop medals when destroyed, and in addition medals can also be found in neutral background areas once you blow up the buildings and so on. The medals are initially worth 100 points, but the value increases when the player collects all on-screen medals without missing any before another medal is revealed. Up to 10,000 points can be earned from collecting the highest medals. For those aiming for the high score, this system can add a real challenge to the game. Personally, I'd rather just blast everything in sight and take in the lovely graphics and that excellent soundtrack. You want your game to stand out in a crowded market, right? Then why not call it Hot Dog Storm? To hell with any meaning, it sounds cool and that's all that matters. Coming from little known developer Marble, this 1996 shooter sounds like it belongs on the Mega Drive, but looks like it should be running on a Saturn. Truth is, Hot Dog Storm is running on the original hardware developed by Cave for use in their shooters of that period. There are loads of explosions, great bits of detail such as shrapnel coming away from enemies when they are destroyed, and copious amounts of sprite scaling, which means this game is quite nice to look at, especially for one released in 1996. To be honest though, Hot Dog Storm doesn't do anything that you've never seen before. However, it is a great game and must be tried. Released by Nichibutsu in 1988, On Formation has you controlling a spacecraft, the Vauger. What a name, the Vauger. It's great. For a shooter, On Formation actually has somewhat of a decent story. Taking place in the future of the space pioneering era, a mysterious point in the galaxy known as point X1Y77Z94 is accidentally discovered. Suddenly it opens up and engulfs the nearby space stations. There is only one way to stop the unknown force. The Milky Way Federation sends out its latest developed starfighter, the Vauger RC-30, to point X1Y7794 to investigate the area and eliminate the forces responsible for the events. And that's the reason why this game is very colourful and a bit weird looking. Explosive Breaker, or Bakuratsu Breaker as it's known in Japan, came to the arcades way back in 1992, an era where graphics were getting better in vertical shooters but were still a bit odd in places. This game is no exception. The enemies can be filled with colour, as can the backgrounds at times. The hand-drawn art looks good for the game of its time. However, then comes the realistic digitized stuff. Why did they do this? The realistic battle helicopters not only look out of place thanks to having zero animation, but why on earth are they in space? The controls in Explosive Breaker are simple, but do have a little bit of a twist. There are two buttons, a fire and a bomb. The little twist is, if you hold down the fire button, you get a rapid fire, but only for a few seconds. Actually, this isn't much of a twist, is it? Since minigames do this. Anyway, as it is, Explosive Breaker is one odd title that should be tried at least once. So there we have it, 8 great vertical shooters for you. Oh sorry, not 8, because we had that Jordan made game, didn't we? 7 great vertical shooters and 1 stinker. But anyway, it just goes to show you that not all arcade vertical shooters that are worth playing are made by Cave. There are many other great companies out there, or maybe I should say there were many other great companies out there because a lot of them went bankrupt these days. It's such a shame. But one of my favourite companies was 18 or Rising. This game running behind me, Battle Backrade, should have been ported to the Sega Saturn, I think. But then again, could the Sega Saturn handle it? Well, maybe it might have needed the 4MB RAM cartridge extension, but I think it could have done a very close port, if not arcade perfect port. Anyway, due to popular demand, we're going back to doing one system only in the next Retro Core. We're going to take a look at the Sega Mega Drive. So don't forget to join us for that show if you're a Mega Drive fanboy, and even if you're not, join us anyway because I'm sure you're going to find something which you like. And following from that episode, we're going to take a look at the PC Engine. Yes, I know a lot of you are waiting for that one, so sit back and enjoy that when it comes out. But for now, keep on gaming.